pollinator garden. So it's in the process of being developed. We started at the far end and we're working this way as to not disturb too much at a time. We're developing it with only species that are specifically native to the Fraser Valley. We're trying to attract as many native pollinators as absolutely possible here. So quite a few have been installed yet. We're working forward on this section. Now that summer's coming, we're going to wait until fall to start planting in this area again. Wonderful groups of people have been coming out and helping us. We've got a group of ladies from the University Women's Group that come every Wednesday morning to help with this project. And we've had student volunteers from some of the local high schools come out and help us too with some of the heavier work, which is fantastic. So nice to have them here helping out with that. So this one was just installed this spring. We're going to keep an eye on it now for water for the next year, but it's very drought tolerant. This is called mock orange, a lovely scented plant. A lot of people actually use this as an ornamental in their gardens, but it's fabulous for attracting pollinators and again, super drought tolerant. So that one was just installed. There's 2 other specimens in our garden that were here previous that are growing quite nicely. We've just added a few little plants here that we're working on getting established. This one right in here, Mountain Avens, and this should form a beautiful colony as well here. We've got a couple of Mahonia repens in here that are just coming along nicely. This area we've just installed last year. It's developing out really beautifully. We're really happy with this right now. There was a road that actually ran through here with gravel. We removed the gravel to create a path through the center of our garden and added some lovely organic soil in here to plant into. So this area tends to flood over the wet season. So all of the plants that are in here are moisture-loving plants, and they've really done very, very, very well in here. So looking nice. It's starting to look like a lovely garden in here now. This is another section of the garden from a different angle. Again, we're working on developing this a little bit at a time because we don't want to disturb the habitat too much all at once. So we're giving the creatures a chance to move along. But we put some asters in here. We put some arnica, some monkey flower. There's lots of penstemons that have gone into here, some goldenrod. And again, these are all species that the pollinators absolutely love. So we've also installed a little bit of a puddling area here for the butterflies. We're hoping that they make use of it very soon. So wet soil in here, butterflies need that to extract minerals from the soil. So that's what this little spot is all about. The next area here has been developed more as an alpine part of the garden. So there's a lot of plants in here that really like hot, dry, well-drained, poor soil. So this is a lot of gravel. And basically it was designed to facilitate the soil that was already here, which was very dry and very gravelly. So the plants that you see in this area have been put in here for exactly that reason, and they will take care of themselves as time goes on and once their root systems are a little bit more established. This is the pathway that was developed with the gravel that was removed from the roadway. So we've created a nice little walk up and over here. So we're transitioning along here into an area that's more of a forested type area. So we've got some spring plum in here. We've got some flowering currant in here, cascara. Of course, we've got the bleeding hearts, and we're hoping this is going to develop a beautiful ground cover in here with the bleeding hearts. Some other little partial shade loving plants that are native to this area. Some were put in last year, some were just put in this year. So some salal, some Jacob's ladder, some Canada columbine in there. And again, we're hoping that this is all going to develop out and create a beautiful. This is the Cornus canadensis, by the way, Kristen.
Okay.
So that's it there. That's the little perennial dogwood. Yeah, it just creates a ground cover. And we're hoping that's what will happen. Berry, yes, snowberry. This is a lovely little plant that the bumblebees absolutely adore. And you wouldn't think they would because they're big and these flowers are so tiny, but they love it. It's one of their favorites, actually. Yep. This is still in development. We're trying to get these to establish. These are the yellow wood violets. They're taking their time, but it will form a colony along here eventually. And again, this one's a larval food for the Fritillaria meadow butterfly. So really important to have in here as a larval food. That's one of the components that people often forget about pollinator gardens is that we need specific larval food for these guys to survive as well. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're creating nectar plants and larval food and habitat.
Yeah. Are there any species at risk pollinators that you think might rely on some of the plants you have in here?
Butterflies for sure.
Butterflies, yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Our butterflies, well, and the bees. I mean, we know that at this point over the last 40 years that probably about 40% of our bee species, native bee species, have disappeared.
yeah, really important.
So this kind of a garden is super important for allowing them to survive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I feel like something that a lot of folks don't realize too is that you can garden with these native plants and still have a very what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very colorful and very like beautiful to look at garden that also provides that important food source for the pollinators. A lot of people are really engaged with like annuals and non-native perennials. But there's so much color to be had out of these native species too, and it's really gardening in harmony with nature.
Well,
Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing to do. It really is. And people don't
yeah,
realize, honestly, as you say, people don't realize how beautiful a native garden can really be and how much we're contributing by doing that.
yeah.
And they're certainly a lot easier to maintain and they use a lot less resources.
Mhm.
Native plants don't use as much water. They certainly don't need to be fertilized. So from that aspect too, it's fantastic way to garden.
Yeah, particularly with the droughts we're seeing over the last
Particularly.
years. Yeah, yeah, especially when, we get to a point in the year where we're no longer allowed to water our gardens or lawns because the city is, putting water restrictions in place. If you have native species like this, your garden is likely to still stay green and look good for you, without you having to worry about watering it. And I think it's so interesting too. There's some really interesting charts where it shows the depth of roots of native species and that they tend to go so much deeper and they can extract water from so much further down in the ground as well. Whereas with the non-native like grasses or annual plants, like it's just a thin little layer of roots, and that's why they require so much water to get dried out very quickly.
Particularly the grasses.
Yeah.
Particularly
Yeah.
the grasses,
Yeah.
and that's why meadows are so important with native species in them because they really do draw the water and the minerals and the nutrients up from far below
Yeah.
to bring up. Uh, so that's important.
Yeah.
Just look at this now, Kristen. This is a project we did with some students last year. We made seed bombs with them. And so the kids got some lovely compost and some clay, and we put native plant seeds into them. And the kids made little seed bombs that we dried out and they threw into the garden here. So these were all planted by our students. And this year they're looking fabulous. So they're coming along nicely now. I'm really excited to see this is finally blooming. So this is our woolly sunflower. And it's taken some time, but here it is in blooming.
And we've got some bees over there. What's this blue flowering species?
That's bluegilla.
Bluegilla.
That's an annual, but it is a native species. And as you can see, highly attractive to the bees. They really love it. Any plants that are blue or yellow in flower are their favorites. So, yeah, this is very exciting. I'm super excited to see this happening. It really makes my heart warm to see that this is actually done really well, really well. And we've had some students come back that said, "Oh, I helped with planting this," and they're really excited to see it growing and flowering.
Our summer camp kiddos. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, so fun. And so many people have contributed to the project at this point too. Like it's really been a community effort to restore this space. I think it's sort of been a dream of various people who've worked at the Heron Reserve or volunteered at the Heron Reserve over the years to actually get a functioning pollinator garden here. And I
And
mean,
we're
you're the one who's been able to make it happen.
we're really close, aren't
Yeah.
we? Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Something really exciting that's happening this week coming up that Kristen was telling me about is we had a group of students that came here that were raising butterflies in their classroom. So we talked to them about the pollinator garden, and they're coming here this week to actually release their butterflies.
Yeah,
So
really.
that's really exciting. I'm so excited to have that happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And you said they were going to be painted ladies.
Painted ladies, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think she said they have 25 of them, so we'll get a good little influx of pollinators here. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Hopefully, they find some places to lay their eggs
Oh,
for
I'm
next
sure
year.
they will.
Yeah. And I feel like that really speaks to, I mean, we did the BioBlitz today, and that's kind of just like a snippet of the amount of volunteer work that goes into, stewarding the Heron Reserve, and doing these really great like restoration projects or habitat creation projects. Like this is just one example today of how much work has gone into this place from the community. I think we've had about 18 or 20 people in total. And it's just awesome to be able to do this species inventory that we have going on today because, historically we've been pretty short in terms of conservation staff hours. So without the volunteers, it really wouldn't be possible for us to do this kind of work. We're a 325-acre site. And so, monitoring and maintaining the site and doing things like invasive species control, I mean, we couldn't do any of that without volunteers. So it really goes a long way. So it's always awesome to have folks come out and join us here. And it's a great opportunity to get outside. It was a beautiful day today. We had a perfect day for it. So
we're always looking for volunteers with the pollinator garden as well. If anyone wants to join us, we're here on Wednesday mornings from 9 until 11 o'clock.